Thank you so much for joining us at this Getting Started Training for Instructors for MindTap. We're super happy to have you. We're hoping you're having a great summer as well. Just a little details before we get started. I am going to be keeping everyone on mute just so we don't get any background noise during the presentation, but I know people will have comments or questions throughout, so please use the chat box to enter those in. I will either answer you during the webinar, and Jenny can answer as well, or we will follow up after via email. And again, this will be recorded, so if you need to go back and try and see what we talked about, you can see that recording as well. So again, questions in the chat, everyone will be on mute. Enjoy this webinar. I'm going to pass it off to our presenter today, Jenny Billings. So take it away, Jenny.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny. It's nice to meet all of you. While we are getting started, if you wouldn't mind just kind of introducing yourself to me in the chat, just to get you familiar with the chat feature. So what your name is, your school affiliation, where you're located, and then something that you hope that we will cover or that you would like to learn in today's webinar. That would be great. And I just have kind of a little anecdotal thing here about the first day of class. As you know, it's approaching very quickly, and my summer went very quickly. I don't know about yours, but they will definitely be here sooner than later. So thank you so much for joining us. While you're doing that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm Jenny Billings. I have been with Cengage now for about 3 years as a faculty partner. I also work at Rowan Cabarrus Community College in Concord and Salisbury, North Carolina, hence the accent. But I've been here for about 6.5 years. I am currently the chair of ACA, which is Study Skills, Developmental Reading in English, and the English Curriculum Department. I just finished my doctorate last month, so that's been my first doctor label on a webinar, so that's pretty awesome. But I have been using MindTap as a user and as someone who advocates and talks about it for about 3 years. So I'm pretty darn familiar with it, and I'm definitely glad to answer questions and show you what I know. So welcome, everybody.
Yes, welcome, everyone. We have people from Northern Virginia, Auburn University, Cedarville University, which is close to where I went, Wittenberg in Springfield, Ohio.
Okay.
Lincoln University. People want to know most efficient way to set up new courses, so we will cover that.
We will.
There's a first-time MindTap user for this fall.
Awesome. I got you.
We have University of Colorado Boulder.
Nice.
I see some comments about an LMS, so D2L, Blackboard. I'll put links in the chat because we will not be covering LMS too much, how to sync up different ones in particular, but there are training videos on each Blackboard, D2L, stuff like that. So
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll touch
and
on
for
that.
those of you who use Blackboard, that's what we use, and I'm also familiar with Moodle. So while I'll only touch on it briefly today, if you have specific questions that you'd like to ask me, since we do utilize them, you can email me, and my contact info is at the end of the webinar. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I value your time, and I want to make sure that we end on time today. So again, thank you for taking your time during the summer especially to learn about MindTap, and hopefully this will be helpful to you. So here is what we're going to cover today, very briefly because it is a getting started webinar, but we will definitely address questions that you have in the chat either during today's webinar or via email later if it requires a more substantial answer. So we will talk about creating a new course, personalizing your course, best practices that I have found as an actual instructor who utilizes MindTap, analytics and how that can help you with reporting throughout the semester, how you can help your students get started because we understand and recognize that that's as important as getting you ready, additional training resources, and then I want to show you something that's going to become so invaluable to you as the semester goes on. So let's go. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is creating a new course. There are two different ways that you guys can do this, and it really depends on how your institution is utilizing MindTap. And what I mean by that, if you are going to be inclusive access, or you're going to have it actually linked into your learning management system, you can create them right then and there inside of your learning management system. It's as easy as an importation of a link, and then you can create it in the course. If that's not how you're going to utilize it, you're going to send your students outside to the website, then you can utilize it through Cengage's website, and you can create a course there. So if you're going to do the integration piece where it's directly in your learning management system, which is how Rowan Cabarrus uses it, you would see a screen like this. And so it pops up directly in the learning management system, and you would create your course right then and there. And so as you can see, it asks for you to create a course name, and it has to be unique from other courses that you have in there. And my best tip and practice for you when doing this is to always put the section number or to put your semester and year so they're always unique when you create these course names, because that can, kind of hold you up in the future as you start getting a lot of courses under your account. You also have to put the course start and end date. This is important because it creates the number of weeks for you that your class runs, and then you have to enter your time zone. But you have a couple different options. You can create a course from scratch, which is what it's on right now, or you can copy from an existing course. So if you've taught it before, you have it set up well, and all you need to do is adjust due dates and week dates. You can do that. Or you can copy from another instructor, which is what I do for my folks, because I create a master and then they copy from there. If you're not going to do it directly in your learning management system, you can actually do it through your Cengage account. So when you log in, if you'll scroll down, you select your book here, and then it pops up these items right here. So you would go to create a course, and then it goes to the same options that you and I just discussed. So you have an option again to create a new course, copy from an existing, or copy from another instructor's course. If you copy from an existing, it'll show you all the choices you have. If you copy from another instructor's course or from a master, you have to have a course key that can be provided to you. So this is a really easy process, and you have these two great options, but doing it through your account here is going to be really the way that we do it in the future, and this will be a wonderful way for you to manage your courses as well, because you'll be able to see all of these here. This is also going to be awesome if you are going to help your department manage these courses. This is also where you can create a course master. So you can create one master course in here that you can then create sections from, and therefore all of the courses within your department are all identical. So of course this helps with quality, making sure students have the same experience from section to section. So this is a really, really great option that Cengage has provided through MindTap, and this is relatively new, so we wanted to make sure that we covered it today. So personalizing your course. If there's anything that I can tell you about MindTap that is probably one of the coolest things ever, is because not only can you have masters and you can have something created for you, you don't have to start from scratch, you kind of have a template. Once you have that template there, you can completely customize this to make sure that the experience is true to you as the instructor and that it's applicable to your students. And there are so many different ways that MindTap allows you to personalize it, so I want to show you all these different options today. So the first two ways that are from the very get-go, when you go into your MindTap course, you have something called views. And currently there are three. So there is the calendar view, there is the chapter view, which is what I'm on currently in this screenshot, and then there is the due date or the weekly or the date view. And so there are three views here. The reason I have this pointed up here to the name, in the top right-hand corner is where both your name and your student's name is going to populate, just to show who is logged into that MindTap course at that time. there's a menu that drops down from your name right here with that arrow that is fabulous, which helps you personalize your course in general and then prepare it for your students. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So if you go up here to this menu and you do the drop-down menu, the first thing that I want to show you are the options here. And these are, again, are some really great ways to personalize, but also some best practices that I have for you. So there's a new feature called Switch Courses, which Lauren will probably laugh at this. I am thrilled about. I have been asking for this for like a year. This is awesome. This is a way, if you have multiple courses, when you're in there grading or checking on your students, you'll be able to go switch between your MindTap courses from one screen, which is awesome. We used to have to come out, go back into our learning management and pull them up that way, but this is a way we can switch from course to course. Just make sure you're in the right course when you do grading and things like that. What I wanted to show you, though, was course settings. So what we just looked at over here with the views is called dashboard. Dashboard means what your students see when they come into the course. So it's what they land on, if you will. So you can enable dashboard, which means that you have all those different views that both you and your students can switch between. So with it enabled, you have those 3 view options. When you disable it, you no longer have those options. So I don't often disable it. Here, though, you can decide if you want the week view. Why this is important, if you're going to be utilizing MindTap extensively with due dates, when students come in on week view, it'll show them what is due that week. So it puts it in their face. They can click directly into the assignment from MindTap. If that's not something you want to do, you can just link the assignments if you're doing inclusive access or integration. You can link them to the assignments directly through your learning management system. But if your institution is not doing it that way, week view is a great way to show students what is due, because there are so many resources available in here that students often, I know you won't believe me, will work ahead and they will try to do lots of other activities that you may not have assigned. But this is a great way to show them what is required and what is for a grade. You can also decide which default view you want, so the view that students land on. You get to dictate what you want them to see first without toggling the views. I personally prefer unit view simply because it goes directly to the chapter, so the students don't have to look for them, but that's completely up to you if you're going to be using a weekly calendar or something like that. So with the views, how can they help you? Well, we've already talked about the calendar view. So this shows students what is due that week. So that's the week view. The unit view is the middle view. That goes directly into the chapters and shows students where to click to read or to complete activities. But this is probably one of your best friends as an instructor because this view allows you to see everything that's available within MindTap, all of the different activities, if they're available to students, how to change due dates, things like that. So the view all the way to the right is usually very popular with instructors. So if you click on this view, as you can see, it will list all the different activities, and then you can click on the calendar and set a due date. You can also set an available date. So if you don't want students to have access to something until later or until week 2 or whatever, you can set both an available date and a due date. This, of course, will put it into the week view for whichever week you assign it. This is also a way that you can see things that are hidden to students. So if things are hidden, you will see this little X through here. This means that you've hidden a chapter, and when you hide a chapter in the learning path, it hides everything associated with it. Well, how do I hide it? Well, if you go to the unit view, see how these chapters are hidden? All you have to do is hover over it, and this eye will show the chapter again or will hide it. And you can do this for all of your different chapters, all of your different activities. If you hide an entire chapter, as we did here, that hides everything associated with it. However, you can actually go into a chapter and only hide certain aspects of it if you don't want students to do it. Or you can leave it available to them to do it for practice. But as someone with experience, trust me, the students get a little confused if you don't assign it or if you don't hide it, and they often do a ton of assignments that are not necessarily required. While that doesn't really sound like a bad thing, it can sometimes lead to them saying how extensive the course is or that there were too many assignments, and we often have to say to them, well, baby, you didn't have to do those, but we appreciate it. Here's an extra credit point. But just from instructor to instructor, just be wary of that. All right, so not only can you hide personalized views, the chapters, the overall experience for both you and your students, you can also edit the textbook, which is probably the coolest thing I've ever seen, which is why I fell in love with MindTap. So within the chapter itself, you actually have to click into the chapter, which I'll show you how to do here in a second. You have this beautiful little pencil, and anytime you see pencil, that means you can edit it or it has the ability to be edited. So you always look for the pencil first. So you have to go into edit mode by clicking on the pencil. Then anywhere you see these little plus signs means you have the ability to add something directly into that spot. So remember, pencil, plus sign. So I'll show you. So I'm going to go into a chapter here. And so oftentimes how you know it's a chapter, you either see the word read or you see a book that's open. And I'm not sure y'all saw that. Let me go back to that. So see these little icons? These denote what this is in the book. So if it's a play button, it's a video. If it's this, it's a book. If it's one of these, it's an activity or something that could be created or for practice. But when you want them to read, they need to look for this little book. So they click directly into the chapter itself. And then you go to the edit mode, which is the pencil. When edit mode is on, the pencil turns yellow, and then here are your plus signs to start personalizing. So if you want to click the plus sign, it gives you all of these opportunities to move things in. And this is gorgeous because if there are things that you've used in your course for a million years and you're not willing to give up like a PDF or something like that, you can upload it here. You can bring in Questia, which is one of my favorite things in the whole world here in MindTap, which helps with research tools and writing process and things like that. And then, of course, you can bring in things like YouTube videos, and it's just a really, really great tool. And it helps you personalize the experience for your students. So just to show you also, for the book itself, kind of like an umbrella view, you can also edit this as well. So you can add folders and activities with this plus sign. You can even edit the name of the chapter, which we have done in the past because with an e-text initiative here at Rowan Cabarrus, we've completely customized the experience for our students. So sometimes the chapter numbers are not as important as the chapter names, because they don't necessarily match up with the textbooks anymore. So these really enable you to personalize it as much as you want or much as you don't want. All right, so tips and tricks. I promised that I would share some of those with you, and I think I've already done that as we've gone along. But I think it's important as someone who's really familiar with this and comfortable with it, I wish I kind of had this when I started, because I did a lot of this myself and I taught myself, and so I want to hold your hand through this if you'll let me. So let's talk about a few of those tips and tricks. So the first thing, so you've noticed probably in the MindTap course when I go to it, there is a dock on the right-hand side, which is where all of your applications live. So this is your app dock. These are available to both you and your students, and they are wonderful because they supplement the textbook and your students' learning. And quite frankly, it also helps supplement your instruction. So just to go through them real fast. So the first one here is the search feature. So this allows your students to look for key terms, page numbers, phrases, things like that. Yes, it can allow them to skip forward without reading an entire chapter, but hey, at least they're looking for something important in the book. But this does help with them with research and when you're asking them to define a term or something like that. Progress is for you, the instructor, and for students, this shows their grades and how well they're doing in the course, and this is where the analytics piece is as well that we'll talk about here in a minute. RSS feed is where you can sync together RSS and Twitter and things like that. The glossary are all of the key terms that are discussed in the book. Connect Yard is a way for you to link social media to your MindTap experience. So basically you create a yard that they can link up their Facebook accounts or Twitter accounts to, and that way they can communicate with each other. Think of it as a virtual discussion board that's a little bit easier to have a true class feel when they communicate. And it creates like a yard code, and that's how your students connect with one another. Pathbright is one of my favorite things in the world. This is a virtual portfolio tool. The thing that's so great about this is that students can build portfolios directly in your course. They can then take them with them. So by logging into the Pathbright website, because they create kind of an account, they can have access to this even after they leave your class. They can upload documents, videos, images. It's just a really great way to help students with things like the writing process or have them write about something they see. It's really good for critical thinking and a way for visual learners to express what they've learned throughout the semester. The full book option pulls up the book exactly as it says, the full book. So if a student wanted to read a book by like physically like moving pages over, they could do it from that. So it goes from back to front, or from front to back. The study hub is where all of your notes and highlights are collected. This is also where you can create study guides for your students, or they can create for themselves. Read Speaker is exactly what it sounds like. This is where students can listen to their book. They can also choose what speed they want it in, so slow, medium, or fast. They can choose male or female voice. We do not have accents, unfortunately. Questia is what I was telling you about earlier. This has research tools and functionality in it, as well as a writing center that helps students with the writing process and to actually build essays. It is amazing. I just wrote a blog post about it, so feel free to go check that out if that's something you're interested in. There's also a dictionary. Notebook is a way that students can take notes while they're in the book and access it later. Flashcards are generated for the book if the book calls for that, and the students can click on these and hide them as they get them right. And, of course, they can re-show their cards. Pretty amazing. They can also create their own cards, so can you. And then last but not least, My Content, which is where you can upload your content from Google Drive or from Kaltura, and then you can add these items into your book using the plus signs. All right, another tip or trick. This has saved me so many emails and so much time, so I want to make sure that you are aware of it. So again, this little handy menu option up here, if you click on the drop-down menu and you go to System Check, this will run a check for your computer to make sure that everything is good to go, to make sure that the experience with MindTap will be the best for the students and for you. So as you can see, I have two things that it's warning me about that I will most likely have to address, which it, prompted me to allow pop-ups, so I'm going to do that. But this is really, really great for students, especially if they say, they're not sure if their, device will allow MindTap or something like that. This will help them with that so they know what they need to do.
Jenny, could you go back to MindTap?
Yeah.
There are a couple questions real quick.
Okay.
Can you go and show the Add Activity button? Yeah, so the Add Activity is going to live under that plus sign up there as well. So those are the different activities you can add, and they're going to be different based on your MindTap. So again, not everyone is going to have that Questia app. You'll notice if you check your app doc on the right, it might be different than what is currently showing. So if you do have questions about your certain app, you can ask your learning consultant for more details on that as well.
Okay, other questions? Do you have another one for me, Lauren?
I think that's all we have right now. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. The other thing that I wanted to show you, which I think this one is in all MindTap courses, is Study Hub. This is really, really important for both you and students. So while they're in the textbook, they are able to notate and highlight. And as they do that, these things appear in Study Hub to help them study and to look at what they highlighted later. So there are things that you, the instructor, can share with students, which comes up in orange, and then here are actual highlights that they did. And so any of their notes, which this is a note, this is a highlight, populates here under the Notes and Highlights tab, and then any page that they decide is important as a whole, bookmarks, and then it saves their bookmarks as well. From there, everything that saves here can then be put into one study guide. So they can create a study guide, or you can, so they would name it, and then they can select what unit they're interested in, so that would be the chapter. And then as you can see here, that unit or chapter, everything in the study guide can be the key terms or what they highlighted, their notes, things like that. That creates the study guide. Now, as the instructor, if you create a study guide, it is automatically available to your students. However, you can hide them. So that's what the I comes in here again. You can also delete them as well. So just to give you an example of what one looks like, this is what a study guide looks like after the fact. So right now, it's divided by type. So what highlights were here, what key terms are here, what notes are here, but you can also do it by unit if you put more than one chapter into the study guide itself. So within the chapter, and you already saw what the highlight looks like, if you go and you select part of the text, you'll get these options here. If you choose orange, that means that you, the instructor, are highlighting for your students. So they know something in the chapter is very, very important. I call this a hint, hint. You should know this. And then, of course, the students have these 4 options to highlight as well. You can also add a note, and you can add this for your students and then share it by checking this box, or students can make notes to themselves that they can then pull into their study guide as well. This is for sure one of my favorite features and something that I would highly encourage both you and your students to utilize. All right, so the MindTap app. This is something that Lauren speaks to for me, but just, before I have her take over here for a minute, I just want to say that this is something that keeps evolving and getting better and better, and so many of our students are utilizing educational tools on their phone, and this is a way that they can really, really engage with MindTap from their phone. And so this is something that you should definitely encourage your students to look into, download, and use throughout your course.
Yes, thank you. So the MindTap Mobile App, exciting news for instructors. You are now able to log into the mobile app with your instructor login, and you can see what the students see. Previously, it was just for students to log in, but now an instructor can get in there as well. So go ahead, check that out. It's awesome. We love it. If you want to go to the next slide, Jenny, please. So the MindTap mobile app for students, these are going to be some student screens here that you're seeing. They can download it on their iPhone through the Apple Store or their Google phone through their Android store, or the Google Store, sorry. But this first screen on the left, that's going to be the home screen. So there's going to be that first activities section, and that's going to have the calendar, which is that second screenshot. So there's 3 views under the activities. It's week view, so students can see what is due today or this week or next week. And we did some tests on that to see what they wanted to see, and they wanted to focus on what was coming up right away. Then the unit view is going to just show by unit, kind of like in the MindTap, so that's what that view is. And then calendar is just going to be an overview of the calendar so they can look month by month what to do on which day. So different options there. The notification, so this is great for instructors. You can send out notifications to your students. So if a grade changed, if a due date changed, they can get that automatically on their phone. How nice. They always have their phone, so yeah, why don't you send them a notification? The e-reader, so that's going to be that third screenshot here. When students download this, when they're online, they are going to be able to read this offline. So if they are on the bus, traveling to work, to school, they can read their phone on the bus. So amazing there. They don't need to have Wi-Fi to read the book. They can highlight, they can also have the read speaker there, so if they want it read to them while they're walking, they can do that as well. The study tools options, this is going to be a flashcard and practice quiz that they can do, so they can study their flashcards on the go. And then the grade book on the far right image there, they can easily see just how they're doing in the course and different activities as well. So they have so many options in the mobile app, and we're really excited about this, so I hope you can check it out and have your students download that.
Awesome.
Jenny, back to you.
Yep, thank you, Lauren.
Yep.
All right, so of course we don't want to leave our students out because, of course, you as the instructor are going to be fielding a lot of questions, and we realize that. And so not only do we want to provide training for you and support for you, we want you as well. So there are getting started resources for students that I want to show you where they are, so you can link to them in your course, you can cover them on day one, you can put them in your syllabus. There's so many different ways that you can direct students to these really great tools for them. So if you go to the training resources page of Cengage, which the address is right there in the top right-hand corner, which I'll show you here in a second, there are all these different user guides for both you and students, and they can be filtered by instructor or students, and then from there they can be filtered further by topic. And so I want to show you how to access them so you know how to tell students to get to them. All right, so if you go to the training resources page using that link that we'll provide and that we just showed, right here there are filter by. If you click on instructor, it'll show you just the things that are good for instructors. And this goes from user guides to videos, the webinar recordings, which, like, look, there I am, woohoo! But there's all these different ones that you can get help with. There are podcasts, system requirements, which is important to share with students what they need to know for their browsers, and then, of course, best practices. So there's a lot of really great tools here for you. And then as the instructor, you can go by topic. So right here, here's getting started. So that's gone down from 133 to 58 things that you could look at to get started as the instructor. Of course, your students have the same thing that they can do. So if you click on students, then they can go down here to getting started, and now they have 23 resources that they can look through and read in order to help them get started as well. So this is a really great place. You can go in, get PDFs, download those, put those in your course, put a direct link to this page to your students, show them how to filter. There's a lot of really great options here for them. All right, for those of you who are going to be using integration in your learning management system or that are thinking about it in the future, we are an inclusive access institution, which means that our students gain access to their textbooks when they pay for their class, and then their textbook is delivered through their learning management system automatically. And so our students don't require access codes or anything like that. They just have to create an account. So that's what this screen is. So when they click on the textbook for the first time, they see this screen, and then they click directly here on Don't Have an Account, and then they go through these steps in order to gain access to their textbook. It's a really easy process. Our students then have an email address and a password for Cengage products. which they can then use to access other books in the future. But students really only have to do this one time just to sync their learning management system with their MindTap account and Cengage account. This is available to them even if they don't have a code or they haven't purchased it yet. It's available for 1 day per week of the class with a 14-day maximum. So I just like to pinpoint that out. Even if the student's financial aid hasn't come through or they can't pay for it yet, there is a grace period, 1 day per week of the class, that they have access to their material even on day 1. So this is just something we wanted to briefly show you. All right, analytics. This is going to be something really important to you as you go, just to see how well your students are doing and if you have to produce reports at the end of your course. This is accessed through the Progress app in MindTap. You have all of these different views. So you have an overview where you can see how your students are doing as a whole, and then you can click into individual students and look to see what their averages are. You have an analytics page. There's the grade book, of course, which is also what your students have access to under grades. And then you can create categories and further customize this view for yourself. Under analytics, as you can see, there is a little chart here, and these little gray dots are equivalent to students. And so this is for a way for you to see who your students are, those that are kind of struggling a little bit, those that are in the middle, those that are your high engagement. And what this is looking at is engagement level is time in the course and how many activities they've accessed. So that's what it's looking at. So those that are here at the top are those that have spent the most time in your course, they've completed the most assignments, and those that are here at the bottom are your low engagement, so they haven't been in the course very much or they're not accessing assignments. So this is a really great way for you to see from a visual interface perspective how your class is doing as a whole. And so as you can see, most of the students are here in the middle, and then you have some that are a little bit behind, but this, of course, would encourage you to get in touch with them right here from this screen, and then those that are doing really well. So quickly, I'll show you what that looks like in MindTap. So you go to your progress, and here's your grade book. So it shows your students and then their overall course average and how many points they've done. Your analytics tab, which is what we were just talking about. Now, of course, all of these students haven't been in the course very much, and they're not completing activities. But if you click on this, that shows you who the student is, which will then launch you directly into the student's profile. And from here, you can contact that student directly. You can grade assignments. You can look at their attempts. You can give them comments. You can drop the student from the course, but you have a lot of analytical data here. You can see how long they've been in the course, how many times they've logged in, what activities they've accessed. So this is a way to keep a really great check on your students in the class. All right, so additional training resources we have available for you. Technical support at Cengage is by far the best that I've ever come in contact with, and I'm not just saying that as a faculty partner. That's why I became a faculty partner, because of the service. So you will have the same experience. They are wonderful for both you and your students. But TechCheck is one of my favorite things in the world, and what that is, TechCheck is a website, the link is right there at the bottom, where you can see if the Cengage portals and platforms are up and running. So if you have a student that emails you at 11:55 and says, Miss B, I can't get in because Cengage is down, for fun, if you wanted to, you could go to TechCheck, you could look at the day and time and see if that is necessarily true. So you can make sure that everything is up and running. And so I want to show you what that looks like. If I have it pulled up, I don't think I do. But I have it.
And if you guys check in the chat box, I've been putting in some links in there, so you have those available also.
Great, thank you. So you go to the TechCheck website, and then it shows the platform. So we're talking about MindTap right now, so we would click on it. And as you can see, there are no issues, so life is good. You see all the green. But let's say a student said it was down yesterday. So we can go to, last 24 hours, and we can look at all the times, and you'll notice that there is no red, so therefore the student may be exaggerating a bit, but all is well. So I'm going to go over the last 30 days just to kind of show you. So I see lots of green. Here's one that's showing you planned maintenance. And if something goes down or if there's an interruption, they notate with messages down here at the bottom what happened, when it'll be back up. This has been amazing, so please utilize it and encourage your students to utilize it too. If they think something's down and they go here and it's not, it may be their browser, it may be their Wi-Fi, but this is just a good check for both you and them. And then here are the help and resources available to you, training and development, tech support, and the higher ed faculty community. If you haven't joined this yet, I highly encourage you to do so. You can communicate with me directly in there. I'm one of the faculty partners that answers questions, poses questions. You can message me, things like that. How you get to that, if you log in to the Cengage website, you will notice, let me go back out here. Kicked me out. Sorry about that. Come on, baby. And, of course, it's not going to let me log in right now. There it is. Okay, so at the very top, you'll see a Higher Ed Faculty Community banner at the top when you log into Cengage.com. And you click there, and it will take you into the Learning Higher Ed Community, which is what this home screen is. And from here, you can get started. You can learn how to engage your students. You can join faculty within your discipline, so you can choose your discipline and then communicate with other instructors about MindTap, about best practices. And then, of course, you can ask a faculty partner, which is what I am. So this is where I'm often living and answering questions. So this is just another great resource to support you as instructors. So we have finished our session. I am 3 minutes early. Awesome. But I hope that that was helpful to you. There's my email address, and that's my work phone. If you need to get in contact with me, you're more than welcome to. If there are additional questions, feel free to put those in the chat box. But just thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate it.